today's video, I'm having a look at this card I've made using Couture Creations, the Gift of Giving papers. They're 12 by 12 paper set. And there's also some dies, this stag, and this lovely corner detail and the sentiment are all from that set. And down in the corner here, I've used one of the pieces from the ephemera set and cut into it so I can lift the petals. Here it is in its original state. To give my poinsettia just a little bit of dimension down in the corner there. The poinsettias in the ephemera set, they're a slightly different size to what would be on the paper, but it doesn't matter because it's all layering up. It kind of actually produces a better effect than one the same size would have. So there's the card, and let me just show you, let me put the camera up a little bit. Well, that's better angle on the card, and I'll show you the paper that I've made it from. So this is the 12 by 12 sheet I've used. Let me zoom the camera back out. Well, that's better. There we are. So the card background, I've used sort of a nearly 6 by 6 piece from there. And then for the tag that I've made to go with it, which is here, I've used the area down in this corner. And then of course I've got some other papers that I can use in, bits of paper that I can use in other projects as well that are spare from this. Okay, so that's the 12 by 12 sheet. So let me talk about how I made it. So as I say, I've made a tag as well, and there's a touch of foiling on there, but I'll come to that in a moment. So for the card, I've literally taken the poinsettia from the ephemera set, or I could cut one from one of the other 12 by 12 sheets. There's lots of them. If you're into fussy cutting, there are lots that you could cut out. And where I've got sort of petals that are above others, I've just cut into it. I've cut the leaves off and just used the flower and cut into the petals so that I can actually lift these up on here. Okay, and then I've done the same with some holly leaves from the ephemera set. This is the shape they come in, this orientation down here. But I've cut into one and rearranged the leaves with this one over here. Okay, so quite a simple, easy little card to make. I've used a cut foil die to make the oval here, but obviously foiling is optional. You could just use an oval or whatever die you've got. I've put some brown ink, some brown pearlescent ink around the edges just to make it stand out from the background. Okay, so that's the card. And then for my tag, put that over there, that's the ephemera set. Lots and lots in there. For my tag, I've used, let's say, the bottom corner of the paper and the same brown card as I've used to mat and layer the card. So because I wanted the inner part of the tag to stand out, but then I've cut a second one in white, stuck it on the back so that I can still write on it. Okay, now the foiling for this and the die set I've used the tag dies from the Steampunk Dreams collection. They're another Couture Creations set. Okay, and they actually nest together. So if I just lift this one out and this one out, you can see they actually make up nesting sets between them. Okay, and even the holes nest. That one. I don't know how well you can see this on here. I'll bring it right up to the camera and make it focus. Come on. Let me move the camera a bit. Let me turn it round. It'll be upside down for a minute, but there you go. So you can see you've actually got the brown around the inside of the hole. And then I've added a touch of foiling. It's a little bit distressed, but the tag is a distressed tag die. and I wanted to show you how I do that, because I haven't got a special foiling plate, I just use the cutting die. So that I don't get foil where I don't want it, I need to trim my foil. Zoom the camera back in, get it to focus just there. So I've cut my foil roughly to a bit bigger than the shape and size of my die, and then I use a craft knife and I cut a few millimetres from the edge of the inside edge of the die around. Okay, so I can take that piece out, but the final bit is covered up by the die, so I just need to untape it so I can get the die out of the way. I'm going to try and leave the foil stuck down and just release the die. There we are. I'll take my die out of the way, and then I can just finish off that cut across the top. There. And that'll take care of the bit that's underneath where the hole is cut out. Okay, and then I need some of my pattern paper to put that onto. So I've got one of my spare pieces here. So I'm going to, let's do it that way around, I think. Let's have this bit up here. So then it's a case of just carefully untape the foil. Now this is a self-healing cutting mat, and I keep this one specially for trimming my foil on, so it doesn't end up with any deep cuts or scratches in it, just a few marks from the foil. Okay, so I'm going to put that there. I'm going to put my die on top like that, so I can just see the foil around the inside of the die, and then I'm going to tape it down in a few places. I've got one more piece of tape. Now I do that because when I'm working with a metal plate on my Go Press and foil, I find that sometimes things slide, and I find I end up with either my foil has moved and it's not underneath my die, or my card's moved, but I end up with things not lining up. So that's ready. I'm going to bring the Go Press and Foil machine in. Now this is hot, so I'm not going to touch this one, but I've got on here a thin metal shim. I've got another thin metal shim here. Okay, so it's not the conversion plate, I use two thin metal shims. Okay, and what I do is I sandwich my die in between the two. And I'm going to add a small piece of copy paper just on the top. And that's just to protect that die from picking up sort of patterns from the foiling plate. I find that sometimes happens, so it just kind of picks up. It's like bits get smoothed out and bits get left. So that will just protect the surface of the pattern paper. Now for my die cutting machine, and with my metal shims, the thickness they are, I've worked out I need 4 thicknesses of card on top. So that's 2, because these are folded in half, and that's another 2. Just going to zoom the camera back a little bit. Okay, so I've got 4 layers of shim on top, but you might need less, you might need one or 2 more, depends on the thickness of your metal shims and your die cutting machine. So I've closed that up, and I have to wait for that to heat up. So it goes back on the base, and then I have to wait while it warms through. So just bear with me while I wait for that to warm up. Okay, so the Go Press and Foil has thoroughly heated through. So it was flashing red when I put it back on the base, and then I've left it after it turned green until it went back to flashing red, and it's just gone to green again. So it's maybe a minute in total. It's not all that long, but I do like to make sure things are heated properly. So I'm going to pull it off the base and roll it through my die cutting machine. And then I'm going to fairly quickly, I'm just going to lift up the top metal plate. Oops, and just move that so it's at a different angle. Put the plate down so nothing's had time to cool down, and roll it again. And then we can see how well our foiling's worked. So take the shims off. Allow it to cool down. Get my foiling off. I'm going to put this on back on the base so it stays heated up. So you can see it's cut through my copy paper. Let's move that out of the way. And then I need to see if my foiling has worked. Now, because I've got my die cutting side up, it's cut through my tape. Okay, that is to be expected. I'm just going to carefully take away my tape at the bottom here. And if you're wondering where the other bit of tape went, it's ended up attached to my copy paper. So I can peep under this corner and just see if that's foiled. And that looks like that has nicely at that corner. So I'm going to put the tape back on for a minute. I want that, make sure everything stays still. And I'm going to take the other corner. I'm going to peep under there and see if it's foiled. I don't know if the camera can pick that up. I'm looking under there and I can see that it has. There we go. So that looks like really good, and that's come away. So oh, it's still stuck down there. So I'm going to put that bottom piece of tape back on because my die is still in position. Thanks to that piece of tape I put back on. And then I'm going to release the tape at the top. Just check it's foiled properly at the top, and I can see there that it has. Okay, so now I can take all the tape off, because if I'd found that it hadn't foiled properly, you can then tape it back down, put it back on your machine, add another shimmy, think you need it, or heat it some more. Make sure it's heated through before you roll it. So that way you waste less of your pattern paper, because you can salvage the foiling. And nobody will ever know that you needed to do that. So there I have the shape of my die foiled onto my pattern paper. So now what I do is I turn the die over, make sure I've got no tape around the cutting edge of my die, fit it back over, and this is a crinkly edge, so it's not an exact match, but it pretty much covers it. You just see the odd little bit peeping through, and tape it down. There we are, and then I can die cut it. There we are. So there I've got the foiled layer for my tag. Let's bring this back again. So you can see I've used the straight one for my brown mat, and then I've used the crinkle one for the next layer. Or you could just make it out of the paper. It's quite a strong paper. And that's how I made my tag. And it's got the die cut sentiment the same as the card. Thank you for watching.